Boxing truth here. Joel Saunders, who's the WBO middleweight champion, finally announced his next opponent. He'll be making the first defense of his title. It's a disappointing move by Saunders' team. Kind of questionable, considering that he was offered a career-high payday. He turned down seven-figure money, and it's been reported that he was offered millions. Not just a cool million, he was offered millions to fight Triple G on April 23rd, perhaps in New York. But instead, Saunders' team turned that fight down, turned down a lucrative high payday to fight a no-name guy named Max Bursak, who was not a legit top 10 contender. He's rated number 11 in the WBO rankings. They're gonna fight on April 30th in London, and it's a disappointing announcement for Saunders, who, I get it, it's his first defense of his title, so they pretty much just their team pretty much looked for the most beatable guy in the middleweight rankings of the WBO. When you look at the rankings for the WBO, there's not really a lot of guys they could have fought. Like for any like big fights, no, there wasn't no big name fights that he could have gotten. He had one on the table, but he didn't want to take it because potentially he'll get destroyed. He can get knocked out by Triple G, and he doesn't want to lose his title in his first defense. And then their team wants to get a couple defenses in, make a little money, maybe perhaps look for another big fight besides Triple G in the near future. But I mean, Saunders is getting trashed right now by some media members, and you can definitely criticize the first defense. I mean, it's a questionable move. Not really sure, because Saunders has been talking shit. He turned down the fight, and when Triple G has a fight signed, then he shows up on Twitter, like a lot of fighters have been doing lately. He showed up on Twitter, called him out, even though his Triple G's fight was already signed, sealed, and delivered. Pretty laughable. He's not the only fighter to have done that to Triple G lately. When negotiations are ongoing or contracts are being sent out, none of these guys are putting their signature on the dotted line. But wait to call out Triple G when he has fights signed, sealed, and delivered. It's pretty funny. But Saunders, he could have fought a better opponent than this. I mean, Bursak, there's nothing special about him. He's a guy that's hittable for Saunders, who's a guy that will come forward and make Saunders look good because he's the slicker, faster guy. He's the fresher guy, younger. And every time Bursak stepped up, he's lost. He don't have great power. He hasn't even been campaigning at middleweight the last fight he had at middleweight was almost 2 years ago when he lost to Martin Murray. Ever since that loss, he's been fighting at super middleweight and not fighting the best opposition. He's 3-3 his last 6 fights, 3 losses in his last 6. So it's a gimme first defense for Billy Joe Saunders. I would have rather had Saunders fought as no more contender then. Show the world that you're not afraid to take on your best available rated opponent. If in the WBO in your first defense, the number one contender was Marif Magmadev, the young kid from Russia, who's a pretty solid fighter. He's not a bad fighter. He's been looking pretty good his last few fights. He's gotten a few knockouts. He's been active for 4 times last year in the middleweight division as well. So he's a young, fresh opponent who's undefeated, coming in with confidence. He's got solid power, solid skills. I would like to see that fight, but Saunders' team probably feel that Arif Magmadev is a little too dangerous. They don't want to risk it. And the kid can punch a little bit. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but he's highly rated, and he's got some tools. He's pretty solid. That would have been a more interesting fight. It would have been I'm sure some people would have been cool with that fight. They would have criticized it, but instead Saunders is fighting a no-name Mark Barsic, who has 4 losses on his record, never been knocked out, but every time he stepped up in level of competition, he's lost. So, and he's not even a legit top 10 contender. So disappointing first defense for Billy Joe Saunders. Doesn't make himself look better. And they're trying to say this will lead to the Triple G fight, but doesn't seem that way. Why fight the most beatable guy in the rankings and act like it's gonna lead to Triple G? Probably not. They'll probably look for another fight where they feel the opponent is more beatable, but for a lucrative payday as well. So I doubt this leads to Triple G. I feel Saunders will get by Max Bursuck, and then he'll try to get the biggest fight out there, but against the most beatable guy. So look out for the Chris Eubank Jr. rematch. I will hope Saunders steps up after this. Get this dude out of the way from the Ukraine, and then fight Eubank Jr. in a rematch, which will be a big fight in the UK. But for whatever reason, they're having a hard time making that fight. According to Frank Warren, they're saying that the Eubanks are all talk. Every time they sent their lawyers to have them sign a contract, they never sign the dotted line. They just talk shit. That's according to Frank Warren. But that'll be the best fight out there for Saunders, if not Triple G, because he was offered lucrative money for that fight, and he turned it down to fight this guy. So disappointing. But y'all let me know what y'all think. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.